Happy Thursday lunchtime, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here and spending your lunchtime with me if you're on the West Coast. If you're elsewhere, I hope you're having a good afternoon or evening or morning or wherever you might be. It's a good day for you. It's Thursday. It's the 28th of May. Um, I am here still at home, sheltering in place, because I still feel like I have that luxury. I am privileged to have that luxury. I do work from home every day, so it makes my life a little bit easier. Um, as you'll note, I have cut my hair. I did it myself yesterday, finally. I just got so fed up of being so all over the place that I decided to cut my own hair. Hopefully it looks okay. It's still stuck up a little bit, but not as bad as it has been the last week or two. Anyway, I'm here and I'm doing my sort of ritual lunchtime talk, and I really wanted to talk about holding space today because, in effect, I think while I'm actually talking at you, because this isn't really interactive here live on Facebook, I am trying to hold space for people by giving them topics that I believe are of value. I don't know for certain that people sort of love or like or even want to hear what I have to say, but I seem to have an audience every day, and it makes my life a little bit nicer, and it creates connection, and holding space like I'm doing every day here is just literally me passing on my heart, my soul here, as we sort of wander this pathway, this journey to an unknown destination, right? We've been on this journey together for the last. This is now nearing the end of 9 weeks that I've been doing this, and it's been a humbling journey, and by just walking this path together, just being together here, we are in effect holding space, or I am holding space for you. I'm opening myself and my heart and my journey to yours, to walk alongside of you in this place of confusion and sometimes fear and anxiety and stress, and just offering you my unconditional support and my love. And that's what, to me, holding space is all about. And today's talk was just really me addressing that and saying thank you. Thank you for coming along for this journey for these last 8 weeks. Thank you for being part of my tribe and my community, and thank you for willingly accepting what I've had to offer to you in terms of this unknown path that we've been trotting for the last couple of months here. Let's be realistic. We don't know where this path is going to lead yet either. It's not. We're not there yet. We're coming out of the woods, but are we sure there's not another forest right in front of our face? It's kind of a hard thing to say. But once we've actually sort of reached this space, this place where we are now, I feel that if we actually truly take this breath and realize how little control we truly have in our lives, and outside of what we feel and what we think, I feel like we have this potential to really open ourselves up, open our hearts and our minds up to truly holding space for people who may not actually understand that they need it. Yesterday I was talking about how anger can be used in a good way, right? If we put our anger into a positive sort of force for good, positive energy for good, like demanding social change, or demanding that we have more tolerance for racial equality, because we're all the same under our skin. um, it's the same sort of thing. Is I want to hold space for people who may not necessarily know that they need it, right? They may not necessarily know that they need somebody walking along their path with them, without any judgment and without, any advice giving, really. And that's kind of where holding space works for me. And, sometimes I need people to hold space for me when I'm feeling down and grieve and hurting and am unsure and anxious and fearful, because I'm human like everyone else. As much as I try to maintain a really good sort of finger on the pulse of my emotions and my thoughts, sometimes I lose it too, right? Can't always do it. Like I said, even the Dalai Lama struggles to be present all of the time, right? So, so when we talk about holding space for someone, it is literally giving of your entire presence, right? Your 100% focus and attention and energy are given to someone while they, need that. Okay, and there's any number of reasons why people need that presence, right? A child needs that presence from a parent relatively regularly, right? For nurturing, for love, for kindness, for compassion, right? As we grow older, we still need those very same things. We just don't necessarily know how to ask or demand them, right? And sometimes it's really difficult for those of us who want to hold space for somebody to really give our presence 100% to somebody when they need it, right? Sometimes when we're feeling really down, or we're really unsure, or scared, we don't have anyone to turn to, or at least we don't think we have anyone to turn to who will hold space for us. We have sometimes friends, sometimes family members, sometimes a spouse, but oftentimes, that can be, it can put strain on a relationship. I can recall when, when Suzanne was re-diagnosed with her cancer the third time, in a very vulnerable moment, she told me how scared she was. And all I could do was hold her and hold that space for her while she dealt with those feelings. Because, as I said to her, I can walk alongside her on this path and on this journey, but I can't walk that path for her. And that's what holding space is all about, right? It's walking alongside of somebody on their journey and holding that presence and being there without judgment, without advice giving. Usually you're not trying to solve their problems, but with all of your heart and with an unconditional love for an offer of support, right? There's no conditions here. It's not because you want something out of the deal, right? Holding space really does truly mean just being there for somebody and being present for that person, right? Not thinking about how your grief or your feelings compare, for instance, to that other person, or to that other person's feelings, right? So, to me, that's what holding space is all about. And and I'm just curious. I mean, have you, whoever's watching, have you had somebody hold space for you, or do you hold space for other people? Chantel, do you hold space for Sophie when she's really hurting and needs that sort of support that you can give her as a mom? I don't know. I don't know how easy it is when we're in our own heads and in our own sort of pattern of hurt and scaredness and behavior, that may impact how present we are at any one moment or any given moment in time. So I mean, so I guess that's kind of, one of the things that we don't necessarily do. So so what can we do to hold space? I mean, I guess one thing that we can do is to just sit with somebody while they go through it, right? Oftentimes when we're grieving, the advice that people give to those who are supporting those who are bereaved is to just sit with them, right? Don't offer platitudes. Don't say, oh, she's in a better place, he's in a better place, or it was God's will, or anything like that. Those are the sort of things that can oftentimes hurt more than they help, right? Arguably, sitting with somebody, just sitting with them, maybe even being silent the whole time and just sitting with that person, is one of the most difficult things that we can do, right? Because we're very uncomfortable with silence, and we're very uncomfortable with other people's emotions oftentimes. I know I have been. I in my past, I've been very uncomfortable with other people's emotions. But the reality is that by understanding my own emotions and what it is that I am doing makes me understand other people's emotions more, right? So it's this emotional intelligence, as it were. It's this embodied intelligence that we have, that we within ourselves feel, right? We know how we feel, right? So if we have the empathy for somebody else whilst we're sitting with them, while we're holding space for them, we can essentially feel more like what they're feeling and empathize with them without having to say anything. The other key thing about that is just allowing whoever it is that you're holding space for, even if it's yourself, to feel what you're feeling, right? It's okay to not be okay. We've said this, how many times do we hear that saying? It is okay to not be okay. We have to allow for that in our lives. We have to allow for this, these ebbs and flows of feelings and emotions that we have, right? We're only human. We're perfectly imperfect humans. We don't, we can't be happy all the time, and hopefully we can't be sad all the time too. It may feel like that, particularly when you're grieving, but the reality is that you won't feel sad all of the time. Especially if you're grounded and present with yourself, and you understand that this is kind of temporary, right? This too shall pass, right? So and the other thing is don't judge yourself, right? We all make mistakes, right? Occasionally, when I'm holding space for somebody, I will lapse back into the whole dad mode and try to resolve the issue, solve the problem, right? And as a dad, that's what I want to do for my children, right? When I was a husband and wanted to solve Suzanne's problems, I would offer advice. I would tell them what I thought they could or should do. But the thing is that's wonderful, Chantal. I understand that. I was I understand that. I was the same. Suzanne was also very quiet and reserved in many ways. It took a lot for her to open up to me about how she was truly feeling at times. And the thing is that I wasn't really holding space for her as well as I could have either. And now that I know better, it is one of those things that that really I wish I had done better. But I know that certainly with these situations, just the more that you're there, and the more that you're, okay with the silence and without them sharing, then it's okay, right? It's okay as long as you're just there, right? Don't judge it, is my advice, if that's okay, if I can give you that. Um, yeah, my kids are very, very open, very honest, for the most part, about their feelings, and I try to just be there for them when I can, and in fact, to a fault, I'm there for them, almost at their beck and call. But that is because, I love them, and I want them to be, um, comfortable knowing that I am able to hold the space for them. Um, and so, from my perspective, that's one of the key things that we can do as parents, is just be there for our kids. And like I said, my my biggest thing, and I just really, want to, almost, shout this from the rooftops, is that, one of the key things about holding space and just being there for somebody is not trying to fix it, right? And recently, like I say, I've noticed when I've lapsed back into that that space where, like I say, I'm in dad mode and I'm trying to fix it, right? I'm trying to make it better. When oftentimes it just needs to run its course. The emotion or the feeling or the sensations or whatever. Yeah, I mean, if it's advice that my kids are asking for, if it's what should I do about this or what can I do about this, then I will offer them an advisory solution, right? I will give them advice. I will try to fix it. But when it's pain, when it's emotional pain, when it's grief, when it's, when it's a fear or anxiety or whatever, just being there for somebody, right? Being in that space and listening with intent, right? Giving that presence, allowing what is coming up to come up, and just hearing, right? Not just listening, but hearing what that person is saying, and not trying to, like, say, compare your pain or your experience to theirs, right? That's what, to me, is what holding space really truly is in this regard. So, so that's kind of what I've been working on, and like I say, I'm not perfect with this. I don't know anyone who is. I mean, but if you have the capacity, or if you need, someone, then you have that, that ability to, to share, right? To share in the moment, to share in that space, and to be together, right? And to just literally, be in a place where there's no judgment, where there's no fear, where there's no, no attempts to fix, what's wrong, right? There are so many times when, when people just want to be heard, and that's one of the hardest things to do, is to just let people be heard, and I've been guilty of it in past. I'm sure everybody else has, because oftentimes we're in our own heads, we're in our own stories, and these are, stories that we tell ourselves, right? We're telling ourselves a story while we're listening to somebody else. That means we're not holding space for them, right? We're listening to what somebody says in anticipation of responding to them or replying to them, rather than actually listening to what they have to say, right? Oftentimes in interviews, or in business meetings, we're not necessarily focused on what somebody else is saying until it's something that's really interesting to us, or we have something to say about it, right? And I can remember working for a big PR agency, and always being either the last person to talk or not talking at all in a meeting, because I was always constantly listening to what other people had to say. and the dynamics of that. Just listening how, this person over here just wanted to get themselves heard, and this person over here was always going to respond to whatever anybody else said, right? Whether it was this person or anyone else, right? And it didn't matter, and they always had something to say, right? Oftentimes it's not very constructive either, and that can often be a destructive sort of environment rather than constructive environment when we don't hold space for each other and we don't listen and we don't hold a positive regard for the other people that we're with, right, or the other person that we're with. And again, these are all elements of just holding space for somebody. And holding space for somebody can happen at work, it can happen at home, it can happen in a coffee shop, it can be anywhere, right? It's just literally having an open heart and mind and just sharing in a journey with somebody who needs to be heard, right? Who doesn't necessarily want their problems fixed, but wants their problems to be known. It's not about therapy. It's not about counseling. It's not about advice giving or mentoring. Those things are all completely different. Coaching, right? What I do is totally different, right? I hold space for people when I coach because I listen to what it is that they want to do, right? Or what they feel is their most important sort of passions and purpose in life. And I will ask questions without judgment or without expectation of a particular answer. So from that perspective, what I'm offering is a space, right? Holding a space where I can walk alongside of my coaching client as they kind of find their way down their path, right? And by asking them why they're choosing that particular path or why they're choosing to do any particular sort of piece, goal, or whatever it is that they've set for themselves, why that particular goal might serve them, right? So that's really what coaching is all about, right? As opposed to therapy where the idea is to try to fix you, right? There's something wrong with you that you're going to therapy, right? You're grieving really super hard, so you go to therapy, right? Or you go to group bereavement sessions or whatever. These are all things that we try to do to fix something, right? Let's be honest, people. We're not broken. We're just human, okay? Being human is, being imperfect. And, the fundamental aspect of our lives is that, we have emotions and we have thoughts. And if we can't maintain control over those, that's when we feel like we need fixing, right? And I've been there, I've done that. I've been through therapy, I've been through coaching, I've been through counseling, all of these things. I've been to bereavement groups, I've done all of these things, right? But I really understand that now, just sitting with what is and how it is for me is the most difficult thing to do, but it is also the most rewarding. And if you can do that not just for yourself but for other people, right, then you can truly hold space for them. And that's really where I felt that talking about holding space today was a good topic for me. So anyway, that's kind of all I have to say on the matter, and I really do appreciate you all being here. Thank you for interacting. Chantel, it was lovely to see you. Muku, it's nice to see you on here. Hope you're still there. And I know it's late, I think 9:30 in Germany. So thank you for joining me. I will be back tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time for the last of this week. Next week, I actually have somebody in town visiting, so I am probably not going to be doing my daily talks. I'm probably going to give myself a break next week. So uh, hopefully, I'll see you all tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for joining me, Muku. I really love to see you. Thank you. And hopefully I'll see you either here or in Germany sometime soon once this whole COVID thing just kind of hopefully gets under control. But yes, hopefully see you all again tomorrow, 12 noon, 9 p.m. for you, Muku, 8 p.m. in the UK, and 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate it, and I am here for you. I will hold space for you every single day that I can. Thank you. Lovely to see you all. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and hopefully see you on Friday.